What's going on, everyone? It's your boy back with another progress and update video. Um, so this is going to be video 2 for the series. I will be attempting again to sort of just give the spiel of what exactly have I been doing since the creation of the accounts again, because they are far along. For those of you who missed it in the first episode, I will want to attempt to catch everyone up as best as possible, sort of how these accounts got here, and that's what I will be doing for these first couple videos. So I believe I left off with something around, so I did the typical, right, you want to do winter Todd, and then use that GP to buy feathers, go to barb fishing, and then do agility for graceful, right? A great way to start off any Ironman, right? Solo, group, whatever. Ended up doing that. And from there, the quest grind really begins, right? So um, that is where I will resume here. And I think going to achieve quest cape is one of the best goals you can make on really any account, right? Quests are just so incredibly useful for that early game quest XP rewards. The unlocks as far as items and areas that you can access, right? Like, obviously, it would be great to have Dragon Slayer 2, Monkey Madness 2, Song of the Elves, those three big Grand Masters knocked out on every account, but right now we only have Dragon Slayer 2 on one account, but we do have Monkey Madness 2 completed on all four. So I can do Demonics on any account that gets Black Demons. Currently they're blocked as I only recently completed that quest, and I have no real plans to go for Zenite sets right now. Well, obviously, when I get back to Slayer with Wrath runes that I've runecrafted to be able to use the Arceus spellbook for, was it Demonic and Sinister offering, then I'll obviously probably will be unblocking Black Demons and pursuing some demonic guerrilla tasks. I would like to get an Anguish or two across the board and some Rings of Suffering for like God Wars and such. Again, keep in mind I can just trade the Zenite jewelry between accounts, so I really only would need like one or two of probably, Torture, Anguish, and Tormented Bracelet, because I could just trade it, like for example the Kraken task, use it on the guy doing Kraken, and then when he's done, pop it back to the group storage, and the next account that gets a Kraken task can pull it out and use it. These accounts won't be like raiding together, right? Because everywhere is an unsafe death for a hardcore group. So yeah, it would just be literally impossible to try and utilize more than one account to do raids. That being said, yeah, Theater of Blood and Nex are, because you can only do them in a group with your own group accounts. Being hardcore, you are forced to keep that prestige status. I will not be able to just get carried by other mains, or, for example, just even be in a normal team where you're participating in stuff like Theater of Blood and whatnot. Next as well, those two pieces of content are kind of off limits. I have theory crafted a lot about doing Nex. I do think Nex is on the radar at some point. I just think we're a little bit far off gear-wise. Using 4 accounts to do Nex by yourself is sort of ridiculous. There is a possibility, much like how, technically you could solo Theater of Blood, but I think 4-man, like, rag bolting Nex is definitely a lot more doable than me ever doing Theater of Blood, for example. Like, I'm not a cold one. I'm not going to be soloing Theater of Blood, right? I'm not as good as, like, Wooks. I won't be able to just step in and do that types of content without losing lives. So yeah, Theater of Blood is off limits currently. Next, however, it's on the radar currently. I would say it's also off limits. So those are the two pieces of content that I just simply cannot do at the moment, right? Maybe with some gear power creep in future updates. Like I think Dragon Slayer DT2 coming out soon. Potentially those new rings, hey, plus 12 strength bonus instead of plus 8, right? That could be massive. A ring with range damage or whatever, that could be massive as well. Because the method that I kind of theory crafted to be able to do next eventually is to kind of just camp rubies on all 4 accounts and really hope for a bunch of procs across the board, just keep them all healthy. And if he ever does like the lawnmower thing that people call it, where he runs at you and just does a bunch of damage, since I won't really be able to skip that, I need to be able to, Phoenix neck up that account and try to just combo eat my way to safety there. That is the current plan, to maybe be able to survive that type of lawnmower phase. And if that account needs to telly out, then I maybe just have to telly out. But if I can get through the shadow phase and only have lost 1 account tellying out, then I could potentially complete the kill still with the 3 remaining accounts, because people trio it all the time. So if I start off with 4 and I get some good damage in, use very little supplies in the first few couple phases there, hopefully I can get through the shadow phase. And from there, I do think it's quite doable. There is the contain this or whatever special that he uses, where he says contain this above his head. He then immediately wants to like summon ice around him. That can hit you again for 50, so to dodge that on all 4 counts when he does it, kind of difficult, right? Probably won't be able to get around all 4 clients and click away for that part specifically, but we'll see if I'm able to just stay at a distance and kind of range him from a distance there. But I do think he walks up to you and tries to melee you, so you can't just camp from a distance and be totally good. So yeah, next, like I said, it's on the radar, but not necessarily going to make that a massive goal right now because it's a little bit off limits still. Yeah, so we have no Theater of Blood, no Nex currently, but again, like I can solo Chambers of Zarek, I can solo TOA, I can solo Nightmare with Hasanis. So again, most of the other content in the game is fully available, and I will be doing God Wars as a team. We'll be bringing all 4 accounts into God Wars rooms wherever possible, because just the more accounts and people that you have to just chuck DPS at the boss, the safer and cleaner the kills just get for everyone across the board there. So yeah, definitely plan on entering God Wars for all the drops. I would like to get Bandos, I would like to get a Seraph Godsword, I'd like to get some Armadillo armor, and I'd like to get some Zami spears, maybe even a Staff of the Dead. So we'll see how that all ends up panning out. Currently, again, I'm just grinding Slayer to finish off my melee stats. I think that I learned my lesson the hard way with losing the first life to Beneath Cursed Sands. Had I just been 99 HP, 99 everything, right, and then did that quest, never would have died, right? Anglerfish never would have died. That quest is actually super easy if you have like anglers, because you can just be at like 100 HP the whole fight. But me being greedy did it at 80 HP, and then I get chipped down by the normal auto attacks of the boss. Eventually it just got the best of me. So yeah, quests are very important for the accounts. Won't be doing Dragon Slayer 2 on the remaining 3 that have not done it yet, because I can just craft Wrath runes for all 4 accounts and then use that to sort of trade prayer through Slayer with the Ash spell. So right now I kind of have all the quests done that I needed, right? Like high amount of quest points, 279 on this guy. The main has 289, so somehow I have 10 more quest points. I think that's mostly through like Song of the Elves and Dragon Slayer 2. Those give a lot of quest points. So other than that, like pretty much after my graceful grind, I just went off the races with questing. With that 70 plus agility, you can easily just go and fire strike blue dragons, which I did. I just made trips there. And I like to just only bank bones, even though you have the shortcut. Its hides just really aren't worth it to bank because it takes so much time and effort to turn them into the tanned hides. And yeah, it's for very, very little profit at the end of the day when you look at like Necreal and Gargoyle tasks just dropping 30, 40k alks every couple kills. So not really worth the time to pick up blue dragon hides that average about 2k a piece, because the crafting meta is fully solved with glass anyway. So no need to go for the crafting XP either from that. So yeah, I got the bones for 43 prey. Probably just went to 44, I believe, on all of them because Eagle Eye is nice to just have. And then from there, yeah, with Protect from Melee, you can just start questing away to your heart's desire, and that's what I did. Get as many quests as I can, work towards Bear's Gloves, the normal stuff, right? Bear's Gloves, Fighter Torso, Nezzy, Strength Ammy, got my Arctic Cloak, Climber Boots, Dragon Simi from Monkey Madness, right? That's what I consider like the bread and butter of like strength bonus. And then from there, if you could just smack out some crabs to 130 attack and strength combined, enter the Warriors Guild with that gear, and you'll just have an easy time getting your Dragon Defender, finish off 60 death, do things like King's Ransom, right? 65 death for that. Unlock the ability to use Piety, although I didn't have the prayer at the time. Eventually, through Insult Heads from High Slayer and Dragon tasks. I do all my blue dragons because getting any type of prayer XP is pretty premium, right? As a reward to any type of task. Worms are one of the best ones for this. Then you also have blue dragons and then any types of Insult Heads from other things. Cave Horrors drop a ton. You have any type of Fire Giant task. Stuff like Blood Velds, very, very good for prayer. Yeah, because I think some of the hardest skills to achieve on any Iron, definitely for hardcore, is prayer, herb lore, slayer, right? Those are probably three of the slowest, more difficult skills to get super high level in. So wherever I can get prayer XP at a premium rate, I would definitely take it while doing something like Slayer, and again always doing herb runs and things like that, farming contracts. That helps out with the herb lore, birdhouse runs for those nests, stockpiling them for a rainy day when I eventually go ham on the brews. I got the highest herb lore level on my main here, that's rune crafting. I call it like my main because I do designate it as the main account. It's the one that has Song of the Elves done, and it's the one that has Dragon Slayer 2 done. So I tend to dedicate it to be the one that will eventually do Corrupted Gauntlet, the one that will eventually hopefully get a Bofa, corrupt it, and take on things like Chambers of Zarek and TOA solo. Because again, if I can just do TOA on this account with like a Bofa and stacked gear, I could potentially get fangs for the whole team, right? And then use those fangs even though the other accounts have never entered the raid. That's the glory of being in a group. So yeah, that's kind of the plans there as far as questing. I kind of have most of them done already, and quests are excellent for the diary steps too. Like nowadays, you can't really get around avoiding questing. Eventually, you're going to run into a situation where it's like, oh, I need this quest. So I just like to get it all done. They're one-time things. Once you finish the quest, it's like, okay, I'm never going to have to go back for it. So I love to just get rid of those quest requirements for diaries and such as early on the account as possible. Again, those quest XP rewards, they're more beneficial the lower level you are, so as long as you're able to easily do the quest, it's always worth doing. So yeah, after all the big questing, right? It's like, okay, got your Dragon Defender, got your Bear's Gloves. Well, now it's time to start slaying for Black Mask stats. So I attempted to get the 58 Slayer on all of them at once. Ended up getting some very lucky task streaks, sort of back to back on what you're looking at the top left account. I didn't choose, oh, number 2 is going to be the highest Slayer. He just ended up getting like 170 Greater Demons, 180 Fire Giants, 150 Black Demons. Like, it was just like really, really big, chunky XP tasks back to back. And just using some Prey Pots and desimming in the Catacombs, Fire Giants and Greater Demons were some of the best XP tasks. I think Hellhounds is another one until you're like 50 plus Slayer, where you can start getting Blood Velds. And then when he was 50, I probably got some Blood Velds as well. So I ended up getting 58 Slayer on him first, and I just straight up went to Cave Horrors, 58, and off task camped until all 4 Black Masks were achieved. One by one, I just went, banked, tossed them in the group storage. You had to bank quite often there. I just use food. I don't use prayer there. I tank with like a Carol's top and Void Robe bottom. I think that's a pretty standard gear setup to be able to tank them without prayer. They have a magic-based attack, so you generally just want high mage defense, and you're kind of good there. Yes, that's how I geared all the accounts with Black Masks. Did a lot of Barrows. I got very fortunate, so one of the biggest Barrows achievements that I was shooting for was to get 4 Carol's Tops, because if I ever go into God Wars, right, Carol's Top has a massive, massive magic defense bonus over the Black DI body, which is your alternative. And I've been in God Wars with the Black DI body because I was too lazy on an iron to go and finish out a Carol's Top at Barrows. And man, you get slapped by that mage minion. But when you have a Carol's Top, it just seems like it just helps so much in reducing that damage that you take. So I wanted to go for as many Carol's Tops as possible. And I actually I got my first Carol Top really quick. And then I actually got, and this is crazy, I got a Carol's Top number 2 very early on as well. And then the next chest, I got a 3rd Carol's Top. And both of those Carol's Tops, the 2nd and the 3rd one, were both in a double chest. So I think I got like a Guthed Spear with one of them as well. The other one was probably like a Carol's Crossbow or something kind of bad. But the Guthed Spear, definitely take that. I'm also looking for 4 Guthen sets, 4 Varix sets, potentially, mostly just the Varix helm and the skirt. I actually do have, I think, like 3 or 4 Varix helms, so I'm good on that department. I have 3 completed Guthen sets and almost the 4th completed. So I've done quite a lot of Barrows, gotten actually much more than 4 Carol's Tops. I've actually have like 6 or 7. Some of them are just chilling in the group storage. But yeah, every account has at least a Carol's Top. You can see I'm wearing it on this guy, I'm wearing it on him. They all have access to Carol's Top. But see here, I'm wearing the Elite Void Robe because I don't have 4 skirts. For some reason, I'm just not getting as many skirts. I only have 2 skirts total. And I've done, we can, I guess, just check here. So let's check the Barrows count. Only 69 there. Nice. KC Barrows, 119, 186 there, and then this is the big one here, the one rune crafting, 518. So 500, 700, 800, 900. We'll call it around 900 chests I have across all 4 counts. So I do have all 4 Carol's Tops. I only actually have, I think, 1 Varix skirt. Crazy. That was one of my more desired items, and I ended up only getting 1 until this point. So I do plan on going back to Barrows periodically. I did a large amount of Barrows somewhere around the like 70 to 80 Slayer grind because I eventually just wanted to get tank legs for all 4 accounts to be able to continue slaying with the option of tanking up rather than taking like the prayer with proselyte route for every single task. So I went to get tank legs and bodies for as many accounts as I could. I ended up getting all that, so I do have a full tank body and legs for every account. That's set. Got the 4 Karos tops, got a couple skirts, got a couple Aram's robe sets, only a couple of those actually, and I ended up getting a couple Guthan sets pretty fast. I did complete a 3rd Guthan set, so it is nice to just, before I had Slayer rings unlocked, take that to like a gargoyle task and just be able to one-shot the gargoyle task with like 4 sets of super attacks and defense and stuff. And again, I do Dragon Battle Axe all of my Slayer for the super strength boost because I want to use super strengths for like PVM and eventually like stuff like Barrows. Like I go through a lot of them there. Limports are a pain to farm, but I do eventually plan on doing a ton of Limport runs in my farm runs. Right now I have like the protection flowers for like watermelons and snape grass right now because I'm trying to top off my bottomless buckets. So every account has a bottomless bucket, and I'm working towards that 10,000 cap of the ultra compost in that because I just want to never have to go and do compost in my farm runs once I reach that. I'm probably around 5 to 6k. Every single account has like 5 to 6,000 in the bucket currently. So we'll still be doing compost every farm run until that's kind of achieved, and then I can finally pluck the flower and begin doing limports in every single one of the farm runs that I do. So that's sort of the state on that affair. And yeah, so again, just slaying, questing. It's just sort of the name of the game, right? To how I got to this stage, right? And again, filling in stuff like, I would just go on a hiatus and do some diaries while I'm at it, right? Always doing tiers of Gothics wherever available, which I actually have that available now, so I need to start working that in. Simple things such as like, okay, if I go do tiers of Gothics right now on the 2 accounts that are fishing, right? I now have to remember which accounts did tiers of Gothics, right? Because the game doesn't have exactly the best way of like telling you, oh, this account has it completed. Sometimes I just tell you there, and it's like, oh, you've already been here, and I'm like, this was one of the ones that I already did it on. So I kind of have to mentally keep track of that. And again, you can definitely get very confused when you're using this many alts and such. So yeah, Kingdom, I have 3 accounts paying for Kingdom. I decided that I wasn't going to do the 4th one with Kingdom because it just becomes a massive GP sink. I think that the herbs and logs and stuff that I get from just 3 accounts running it is enough, and I could just fill in the 4th account with some of the supplies. Made a lot of GP from Shamans. I actually got 3 Dragon Warhammers. So again, pretty crazy. When I started doing Shamans, I set up like a sort of safe spot, and you can do that with a little interface stall with the house options. You might see me doing that later on at some point. But what I ended up doing was you set up the safe spot with your alt accounts, and then I would just kind of just rune crossbow the crap out of them for a weekend or whatever. Got my first Dragon Warhammer on the first weekend that I set off to do Shamans. So I did a nice long weekend where I grinded Shamans, did about 3,000 or 4,000 KC, finally got it. And then 1,000 KC later, so throughout that week I kept going back, maybe after work, got another one because I wanted to go for 4. I didn't exactly think I would get all 4. But I was like, well, I'll stay here because I already got one. I might as well try for more. got a second one, and then later that day, about an hour later, got a third one, and I was just like, I had two Dragon Warhammers on two of the accounts before I could even bank. You know what I mean? Like my inventory had like a Warhammer on half the accounts that were there. Yeah, so you kind of just murder the shamans pretty quickly when you got four accounts just broad bolting the crap out of them from a safe spot set up. So yeah, they literally get melted. I tried to unlock the task. I made the mistake of doing it. I unlocked the task for them on two accounts. So two of these accounts are eligible to get shaman tasks. So in the Slayer grind, whenever I get them shamans, I like to maybe just go set up that on my main. I do have a main account and a maxed iron, so I have those two accounts that I eventually, if I need to do shamans or something, I'll bond them up and I'll set up a safe spot and whatnot. So I can easily do that shaman task as well as just grind shamans off task for any other account that wants to partake if I don't have any current plans for it. We'll just gear it up, bring the rune crossbow off task. You still hit. It's just that I thought I was being efficient, getting two birds with one stone, doing it as a Slayer task. Plus the damage boost from the Slayer helm is nice, but not totally necessary when you're safe spotting and when you're using like 3 or 4 accounts to just rune crossbow it down. They die so fast, and the way the safe spot works is you have to telegrab every loot. So I sit there with a ring of wealth so that the coins pick up automatically, but I will have to telegrab every single alchable and like death rune or chaos rune, coal, whatever it drops that's noted or stackable. I telegrab everything in the alks too. So yeah, you might see some shaman content eventually one of these days soon, because again, I only have those 3 Dragon Warhammers. I would like to get a 4th one. I know that's like sounds crazy to shoot for, but I have high goals, shoot for the sky, right? Always aim high, because if you end up falling a little lower than you expected, at least you're at a good height still. And I always have big goals, especially when it comes to these accounts. Ever since I made them, I just thought how fun it would be to do God Wars on all 4. So I think, okay, having 4 Dragon Warhammers to spec like Zami and Bandos would absolutely melt them. Now, I don't think it's as needed for Zami. I think you can just go in with arc lights and camp that. And the way that these accounts are is like, if I'm playing 4 accounts at a God Wars boss, after I spec with the Warhammer, I'm going to need to switch to my arc light for something like Zami or a tent whip for Bandos. So I might just want to camp Arclight at Zami to make it a little easier on myself. Don't have to go and click every single, main hand weapon like the Arclight again. If I just am already on Arclight, I can just click the boss and then sort of leave the account to do its thing while I focus on maybe, how the tank is doing and keeping it healthy and such. So, yeah, I would like to get a Suffering for the primary God Wars tank. I don't really know which account it will be. I think number 2 here, so the highest in Slayer. I'm currently whipping 99 defense before attack. Got the 99 strength. Pretty much almost 99 strength on all 4 accounts. I always prioritize strength before the other 99s, because I think that's the best increase in damage output as opposed to attack. And then obviously defense is an entirely different aspect. But yeah, after 99 strength, because I'm a hardcore, I'm going to go for 99 def just to be able to rock the defense cape and a berserker ring imbued, instead of having to wear like fire cape or arty cloak and a ring of life, right? So I wear a ring of life, or I will wear defense cape for basically all of my Slayer. When you're playing this many accounts, it is very easy to forget about an account that is, praying in the middle of 4 greater demons hitting 12s. So if my prey drops or something, I can easily get taken out, and you don't want to lose lives like that. So I have Ring of Life out probably like 5 or 6 times throughout Slayer and other various things. Like I was safe spotting Ogress, and I got Ring of Life out on like 5 HP one time. Um, Besides that, not too many close calls with the Ring of Life, but that's why I wear it. If I wasn't wearing Ring of Life devoted or throughout my entire, slay grind and account, then I wouldn't be hardcore anymore because that's happened definitely more than 4 times. And if it weren't for the Ring of Life, that's just a guaranteed death. Because the way it works is like if your prey runs out, you're just gonna get brought down to 0 HP and then you're dead. And then I look because one of my clients, I had a big scenery shift where it went from, the dark theme of the catacombs, all purple and stuff, to, oh, now it's nice and bright and in Lumbee. Oh, okay, well, there's -1 life. So yeah, been very strict with wearing that Ring of Life protection in those areas and throughout Slayer. And I know it's a massive DPS loss to not wear the Berserker Ring. But it's also a massive DPS loss to not be one tick flicking piety with your slay task. But you can't do that. You're playing 4 accounts. If my mouse has to sit on one account and just click, double click, doing the one tick flick method, then you're not gonna be able to do that on any other account. They need to be fully AFK because your mouse and all your focus needs to be locked to that one account. So yeah, like you could do it on one, but the other 3 cannot. So you need to find a way to, either utilize prayer or something, a lot of potions and supplies to be able to afford that type of constant prayer camp. So yeah, primarily I will just use overhead, so protect melee to survive for the entire duration that my prayer drains, and then I tele out, recharge in the house to full prayer. With like 75 plus prayer, it's actually really nice. Like you go to like Fire Giants with the Bone Crusher, and you can just ride out the full 10-minute aggression. Actually, they lose aggro before my prayer runs out. Same with like Anko and stuff like that. But like Greater Demons and Hellhounds that drop ashes instead, you don't get the prey restore from the Bone Crusher in the Catacombs there, so definitely need to just tell you out before aggression drops. That's what the Ring of Life's for, in case I would ever like forget for too long to tune back to some account and end up taking too much damage if my prey drops. So yeah, Slayer is a one of the more enjoyable parts of the accounts, because I think that the way I do Slayer especially is I try to do the most long, drawn out, boring tasks. I know that sounds like, oh, that's so boring, but those are the best tasks for when you're playing alts, right? Just being able to sit with Prey Melee in the Greater Demons or the Hellhounds or Bloodvelds, tag like 5 of them in AFK with Auto Retaliate. Auto Retaliate is responsible for probably 90% of my Slayer XP on every account. And that's just because the way I do Slayer is, if you can just AFK with Auto Retaliate in the center of a bunch of aggressive monsters that's your task, then it just kind of does the task passively without paying attention to the account. So most of my Slayer has been very, very passive on the side where I don't put much attention to it. Now when you're on like 3 or 4 accounts all doing Slayer at the same time, now that's where it becomes tricky, right? Because you're just constantly like picking up alking the loot, telly out, restore prayer, and by the time you do all that, one of the other accounts is low prayer and has a bunch of loot on the ground. So you gotta loot all that, re-aggro more Bloodvelds, run to reset aggression timer if that's the case, drink potions. It's a constant Dragon Battle Axe spec. Dragon Battle Axe, so it takes 100% of your spec bar, and you restore 10% spec every 30 seconds in this game. So let's put that into perspective here. You can Dragon Battle Axe back to top off your strength and then drink, super attack to sort of refresh the attack that is drained. So you have really, really high DPS for your Slayer task every 5 minutes. You can do that every 5 minutes. You will recharge from 0 to full spec again. So with 4 accounts, I end up Dragon Battle Axe specking once every 1.25 minutes. So every minute and 15 seconds. So every 5 minutes, I go through a 4-dose super attack, right? I use a lot of super attacks, especially early on in the account. I know for any Iron, super attacks are plentiful, and they are now for me, but for the first probably 70 to 75 Slayer levels, I needed to constantly go and do an Arit run or something because super attacks were always low, just because of the sheer amount of Dragon Battle Axe specs that I'm using, and that just, it eats into your super attacks. And again, like Limports, they're kind of difficult to farm. Like I said, I plan on getting a boatload of limps through farming runs very soon once I can finally finish the 10,000 compost in my bucket. But for right now, I do have a good amount of limps. You'll get to see my farming run in full fletch here, but currently every account has 85 to 89 ish farming. I'm kind of in this sweet spot where from 85 to 89 you don't get redwoods assigned to you from the hard contracts, so I can complete a lot more contracts on a frequent basis if I don't like rush to 90 after hitting 85. So I like to really milk that out and get as many hard contracts in while just doing things like herb runs and maybe seaweed, which don't give you a ton of XP. So I hold off on doing the massive like fruit tree and tree runs because, with the Calquat tied in, because if you can just not expedite your way to 90 plus, then you won't have to deal with that like 4 day long grow time of redwoods every so often with the hard contracts. It really slows down your hard contract progression once you hit 90. So I'd like to utilize this kind of window where I'm in that sweet spot of the farming level, to be able to just do hard contracts back to back and never get anything that's longer than like a 10-hour, 15-hour fruit tree, something like that. Yeah, so I have the ability to do hard contracts on all the accounts. Obviously I went and got auto weed. I think auto weed is one of the best things to do for any account. So I definitely always recommend that to people. I got it on all 4 accounts. I didn't get the seed box on all 4. I got it on one account so that I could primarily do Master Farmer for birdhouse seeds on him and then trade any seeds that I would need to the other accounts. With the new update where all the allotment seeds are now usable, like potato, onion, cabbage, that is absolutely massive. It makes my life so much easier. I don't have to do anywhere near as much Master Farmer. So I'm totally okay with just sitting on the one seed box. And if I need to do Master Farmer on an account that doesn't have the seed box, that's whatever, like that's probably just fine. It won't be that long anyway because so many more seeds qualify for birdhouses. So yeah, that was a huge quality of life for Iron in general. And yeah, so that is kind of how I got to high Slayer, high farming. Again, just filling in the skills. Like another massive thing that I like to achieve for any account is the 72 mining grind, which gives you the ability to do the making friends with my arm quest line. You can go mine those salts, set up your portals. They have 2 very useful portals. One is the Weiss teleport, which is directly to a disease-free herb patch. Insanely useful for your herb runs. And then you can also get the Troll Stronghold teleport, which teleports you much closer than Trollheim Tele. And again, with the Fremy Hard Diary, that was also a massive one. Now, I already had the 76 or 73 agility because I got to 81 agility very early on the account. So again, just one of those things where if you just hash out that agility super early, you'll thank yourself a lot later on when you just don't have to worry about it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm super high agility. I pretty much have all the shortcuts in Diary Rex. Um, so yeah, with that Fremi hard diary, you get access to that shortcut, but the teleport can just put you directly on top of the stronghold as is if you just have that diary completed. So yeah, have really really good quick access to all the herb patches, and that's yeah another huge milestone to have completed on any iron. And yep, I've had that for quite a while. Um, as far as crafting, I did a ton of just the normal molten glass with the super glass make spell. Mining sand was difficult because you have to pay so much attention to one account. So I kind of AFK like fished and did some other stuff that was chill on the others while I did that sand mining and got enough sand. I got to 89 crafting here, so I can boost pretty much any Zenite except for like a torture. And I also use that to make Fury, so every account has a Fury to use for Slayer, which is excellent for prayer. It's excellent for the strength bonus, and it's great for the defensive stats over like a Glory. Glory's just kind of garbage. It's okay across the board stat wise, but like a strength Ami has 4 more strength than a Glory. So in some scenarios, you're actually just have less DPS. The only reason I think Glory is useful over Strength Ami is because a small amount of accuracy, and I think it gives 3 prayer bonus. But a Fury even 1-ups that prayer bonus to 5. So again, just Fury just 1-ups a Glory in all aspects, really. And that was one of my huge goals, was to at least get 85 so I could boost to 90. I ended up just getting, I think it was like 88, and it was a very easy +2 boost. Because I want higher crafting anyway, and skill totals always welcome in crafting. It's honestly just so easy when you have the glass make spell. Giant seaweed is plentiful if you just run up after your birdhouse run, so. Yeah, the crafting primarily was knocked out on the main, and then I ended up getting 75 on all other accounts for things like Slayer rings. Is that 75? And then at 74 or something, maybe it's 75. You need it for magic birdhouses. So I finally got the hunter level for magic birdhouses, but I didn't have the crafting, so I went and got enough glass for all the other accounts to get 75. Again, that was a nice chunk of glass because it's spread across the other 3 accounts. I probably could have got like that 95 or something crafting on the main had I just siphoned it all into him, but I wanted to spread that out, get access to Slayer rings, get access to the birdhouses for the magic logs. Again, yes, 76 hunter, 79 hunter, 75, 76. 100% from level 9 has been through birdhouses. I have never hunted anything on any account, so that's just literally birdhouses. I probably have 3,000 to 4,000 nests, maybe more, probably 5,000 nests on like every single account. That's gonna be just a ton of Herblore XP when I finally get there. I do have the 81 here. I could just make them. I'm kind of just like banking a ton of Herblore right now. I mean, the Herblore gains in the future are going to be absolutely massive because of all those birdhouses. But yeah, just slowly working towards, passively getting like 90 plus hunter, and then I'll eventually have to do 90 crafting so I can do the redwood birdhouses. It's such a massive upgrade because I think redwoods are insanely good woodcutting XP. Magics are kind of garbage. They're kind of slow, and they're kind of just really not that good. I will do them because I like to have something AFK to do on like 1 or 2 of the alt accounts on the side while I focus on something like Guardians of the Rift. Giants Foundry, right? If you've ever done some of these mini games, they're very focus intensive. Magic Training Arena, right? To go and get Bones of Peaches and whatnot, I had to, you have to sit there at the alchemy room or the telekinetic room, and you have to pay attention a lot. The graveyard room, you're literally spam clicking that bone pile on one account. When you're spam clicking the bone pile on one account, anytime you move your mouse away to attend to another alt account like needs, right? Like say he's on a slay task and I need to tele out to go recharge prey or drink potions, drag a battle expect, eat food, whatever. Like right now I have to bank on the Kraken task. To do that, you're taking away from that like graveyard room. So certain activities in the game are definitely less ideal to do when you're alting, but again, we make it work. Not every account is 100% efficient at all times, and that's just something again you have to accept across the board. You have to understand, look, I'm not going to be able to progress all the accounts as far as someone like Lake or Roydy and Foe's team like Alfie. Like these guys, they stream this game for a living and they can just grind endlessly and they can prey flick because they're focusing on one account. For me, it's a little bit different. I'm not able to just hone in on my effort. Although I can definitely do a 250 mutated blood veil task meleeing in the catacombs with one tick flick prey on prey melee and piety and smash out the task. But again, that just requires your mouse to be glued to that account. And when you're alting, it's just a lot easier for me to just say do Slayer on all four of the accounts, just camping melee overhead, melee prey, and letting the auto retaliate kind of do it all there for you. So what I usually end up doing is like I'll slay on like 2 or 3 accounts and then try to do some more attention requiring things like Magic Training Arena or Giants Foundry or Guardians of the Rift because Slayer is actually one of the more chill AFKable things the way I do it. So yeah, that allows me to sort of manage my effort, right? It's all about the effort management with these accounts, right? So that comes down to like what can I do simultaneously, right? Like I said, it's not like I need Magic Training Arena. Let's go do that on all four of the accounts. Sure, it'd be nice to do it on all four of them, but it's way way more efficient if I can just find something AFK chill to do, like fishing Karambwanji, bait for their Karambwans eventually, while I'm just AFKing out this Kraken boss kind of. Like I don't need to really focus on him once I aggro him with the fishing explosives. So, and then with the other 2 accounts being alt or AFK, I can focus on getting better rates here at Guardians of the Rift. And then once this guy gets to blood runes, I can just go do like Zaya. So now he becomes more of an AFK account, and then I can take the ones that are fishing AFK and go do like Karambwans on one, which is a little bit more uh, focus oriented. It's going to take more of my attention away, as well as other stuff like Mage Train Arena, Giants Foundry. Giants Foundry is one of the most frustrating things for when you're playing alts because if you overdo the action for like an extra tick or second, then it starts like heavily reducing your XP by like 500 every single tick that passes that you leave your guy just like smashing the sword or whatever. So, and you have to constantly manage like the heat level. It's like I like Giants Foundry, but man, will I be glad to be fully finished. I completed all of my like immediate goals on 3 of these 4 accounts, and I started it on the 4th finally. I have the cannonball mold on all 4 basically, and I have another massive chunk of like smithing knocked out. So like I have 74 smithing here, 76 smithing here, 73, and then 83. I actually went like super ham on the one account at Giants Foundry, and so I got like 83 something smithing just from that one account, just because I had like almost 2,000 Addy bars with myth, and I just kept going and started getting some of those blacksmith pieces or whatever it's called. I do eventually want to get the outfit on all 4 accounts, which kind of ties into like super long-term plans. So yeah, like what is my goal? What am I trying to achieve? I explained in the first video that I noticed that the I was like the high scores of four-man teams or any hardcore group. A lot of the names, they have that line through them. You know what it is, right? Like when you lose all of the lives, your account become your group becomes locked in, whether it's a single hardcore or a group hardcore. You can no longer progress the XP you achieved and the high scores. You're just, okay, the account died and now it's crossed out. It'll forever be stuck at that XP and skill total, right? That's one of the reasons I have that drives me to play these accounts is that I still have my lives. I still have 2 out of 4. I'm going to play very safely. I will still partake in PVM and do very dangerous things where one internet outage or one power drop, during a storm, whatever, like I find myself paying attention to the wind radar. So like I just look up weather in my area and I check out, okay, is it going to rain at all? Is it going to storm at all? Based on the precipitation. If precipitation's low, then I check out the wind. If wind is like below 10 miles an hour throughout the day, then I'm like, okay, forecast looks pretty calm and I can go do PVM and stuff. That's a huge consideration because one outage, say I take all 4 accounts to God Wars, one power drop to where my computer shuts off, my power goes out for 1 second. Say, okay, it comes back on right away. Well, that doesn't help me because now I've lost access to controlling my accounts and they're all probably going to die. Like I plan on taking defense cape. Like I will always wear defense cape or ring of life at God Wars just for the hope that if that happens, then I can at least say, okay, well, hopefully I'm still hardcore, But like an outage when you have 4 accounts in God Wars, that that could just be all 4 of my lives gone in one disconnect. So, um, I try to watch out for the weather, because high wind could knock the power cords around, blow them around a bit. That has definitely caused my internet to drop before. So who's to write it off and say that won't happen again? So yeah, maintaining the hardcore status while doing PVM content. I do Dagonoth Kings and stuff like that. I actually did disconnect at Dagonoth Kings the other day. Um, the way I do DKs is I'll get a Dagonoth task on one account through Slayer, and then I'll sit on it, and then I'll wait until another account does enough Slayer to get a Dagonoth task, and if I have 2 of them, then I'll take like Guthans, my Carol's Top, Crossbow, Whip, and Trident, and I'll just go Merc DKs as a duo on 2 of the accounts simultaneously. I don't really see the need to do 3 or more accounts there because I have plenty of DPS to be able to just kill all 3 of them basically by the time the first one spawns again. So don't really need to bring any more than 2 there. And soloing it, I actually be super behind on DPS because I don't have like the Zulrah upgraded Trident. I don't have an Imbued Heart. I don't even have an Occult. Probably wouldn't even take the Occult because I think Fury is just so important for defense there and prayer. So, but besides that, yeah, just the normal Trident and like something like 80 something mage. Like some of the accounts are 88, 89, but these guys are still like 84-ish. So yeah, the max hit on the Trident isn't the greatest, with only like 90-ish range and broad bolts range kind of noodles on Prime, but range has been getting up there. I do a ton of like bone crossbow at crabs and stuff to get to like high 80s of range. And then I've obviously done a ton of shamans. I probably have like 15,000 plus KC at shamans across all 4 accounts. And so that's a massive part of the ranged XP that these accounts have. As well as just, crabbing. Never caught chins Uh, Never gonna throw chins for XP because it's just way too chill to just AFK crabs, bone bolts or something. If I really, really want range XP and it gives me something kind of AFK to pin an alt to doing for a little while and focus more on the others. Because again, the more like long-term AFK stuff I can find, the easier it is to then focus all my efforts onto one account and do something more important or valuable, right? So yeah, again, like thieving, like pickpocketing. If you're pickpocketing Master Farmer or the Arty Knights, you gotta be spam clicking one account, and I can go alt and do other things when it like fails and the guy stuns you, but as you get higher level, that doesn't happen as often. So spend a lot of time idling on the thieving account if you want to tend to your other accounts. So the more I can do something like crabs or AFKing at a long Slayer task, gives me a lot of time to just focus on one account and be able to just spam click like Arty Knights or something. So yeah, that is going to wrap up episode 2. I did a lot of explaining of, how I did the Winter Todd start into Barbfish and then agility, got graceful, quested, did some crabs to Warriors Guild, got my Dragon Defender, then began Slayer, got Black Masks. From there, just been sending Slayer and overall progressing skill total. And I went into detail kind of how I trained a lot of my skills, right? Goals like 72 mining for the Making Friends with My Arm quest. That's, obviously massive for herb runs. Giant's Foundry was a lot of the smithing as well as blast furnace from that gold from Mother Lode mine. Farming was all through, like I said, Hunter was done through birdhouses, so I got a lot of tree seeds from the. Oh, looks like we just lost that Guardians of the Rift game, but tree seeds from the birdhouses over time from the nests got me the farming level to 80 plus, 85. I've done medium contracts since 65, but now it's nice to be able to do hard contracts all the time. And yeah, just basic stuff, like it's pretty easy to get cooking, fishing, because they're pretty AFK. And herb lore over time, herb runs. So yeah, that's how a lot of the skills were trained. And uh, yeah, rune crafting was entirely done up to 60 plus on all accounts through lamps and Tears of Gothics. I have never rune crafted besides this Guardians of the Rift account, which is now 74, and even he got to 60 something with just Tears of Gothics. So yeah, I tend to do whatever con I need just to keep it above rune crafting. And I needed like 60 something con for some diary steps. I think you need 65 for the Isaf door painting for the Western Hard. So yeah, anyway, gonna be wrapping up episode 2 now that everyone has an understanding of sort of how the accounts got to where they are. We'll be going into more detail on like current ideas, current plans, future plans, like what exactly I plan on doing in the near future as well as long term. Right now, just progressing with skill total and enjoying, the position on the high scores. Like I was referring to, I randomly just looked at the high scores. I'm like, wow, there's not much competition here for hardcore groups because a lot of the names are crossed off. A lot of people can't keep their lives. A lot of people burn out. Like I think the sub 2 group, that's the Alfie, Alkin, Zulu, and Devious group. Alfie maxed, and then the others, like, I think one of the accounts maxed, but I can't remember if they even did or not. I think it was like Devious said he was going to max. Anyway, like, they just burn out. They still have their lives, but their accounts have never progressed for months. And again, they're just a stream team, so they might never return to that, to be honest. All they cared about was like the streaming content. They don't really care about the high scores, so to speak. Not as a collective group. Like I know Alkin's super competitive on the high scores, but and maybe DVS, but like the others do not care about the high scores. They just care about the stream content, right? So like they're never gonna go back to the accounts probably and finish maxing. So yeah, like I eventually plan on overtaking the rank 1, which is again that team. And currently on the high scores, I'm 6th, and I think like another one or two of the groups are dead above me, so I'm kind of 4th technically. I will inevitably be 4th as long as I don't lose my lives. Another one of the groups above me is the Farmers V1 team. So that's the good old faux roidy mammal Curtis squad. Um, they're on V2. They're on the second one because they lost all 4 lives. So they're crossed off and unable to progress. They have an insanely high total level on their accounts, but eventually I will pass them. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and I hope to continue with the progress videos. Give more of the background as to like all the activities and simultaneous tasks that I've been able to accomplish and get done. Because it's been a lot. Like I'm really, really happy with where I'm situated here. I'm able to just sort of cruise along with some chill scaling grinds and Slayer, because I've done like the majority of like the early to mid game account task work, right? Like doing quests and diaries and skill recs for diaries, things like that. So yeah, thank you everyone for sticking around, and that's going to conclude episode 2. So I will return for episode 3 with more updates and progress. And now that everyone has this background, should be able to start going into more detail of just more like what exactly I'm currently doing and what my plans will be. So thank you again, and I will see you next time.